Hi everyone, this is Sunny from Database Tech. So today I had come up with one more new session on SQL Server Database. In today's session, I will explain what is stored procedure. So stored procedure is SQL code that you can save and can be reused over and over again. Now, what does this mean? Let's understand this practically in SQL Server. And for that, let's open SQL Server first. So here we have a table named as employee details, which is the existing table that belongs to database name as master, which you can see here from this drop down list. And this drop down list have all the databases that belongs to this server. So now let's execute this query to get the data from this table employee details using select statement. So now let's execute this query. And how to execute the query? Select the query and click on execute. You can see we have the below output from this table. So now let's understand what is stored procedure and when to use it. And for that, let me give you one example so that you can understand this in a better way. And for that, let's go to SQL Server again. So now let's suppose we have the requirement where we need to delete and update data from this table. So how we can achieve this? We can achieve this using some queries. So let's create those queries first. So first let's write delete query, and what is the syntax? Delete from table name, which is employee details, where id is equal to 3. So we are going to delete id 3, and then let's write update query. Update table name, which is employee details, again set salary is equal to 3000, where id is equal to 1. So what we are doing with the update query? We are updating this salary equal to 3000 where id is 1. So from the first row we are doing update for the salary column. So now let's execute these queries. And how to execute? As you know, we have to select these queries and click on execute. One row affected, which means our queries has been executed successfully. So to check the data, let's again fetch the data from employee details using select statement. You can see now in the output below, id 3 is not there in this table, which means it has been deleted using this query, delete query, and salary has been updated to 3000 where it was 1. So both the queries are working as expected. Now our requirement is complete with these two queries. But now let's suppose we have the requirement where we need to execute these queries on daily basis. So how we can achieve this now? Now what you have to do, what option you have to write these lines, write these queries on daily basis. But then it has lot of issues. Might be right now we had only the two requirements where we have to update and delete data from this table. But the scenario cannot be same always. Sometimes you can have the requirement where you have to do the merge, you have to do the join, you have to fetch data from multiple tables, and it can be anything. It can be 100 lines of code. At that time you will not write those lines on daily basis. And it is not a good practice also. There can be syntax issues, there can be it can be time consuming. And one more thing, the important thing, like right now you know these queries, so you created those, it's okay, but you will not be always in the shift. There may be other people in the team, and if they have to execute these queries, how you will provide these queries to that person? It's not like possible. Either you have to save them in some notepad file and then share the path, but that is not a good practice. So better is to create some stored procedure. So stored procedure we use for this purpose. Let's see how we can fix this how we can overcome this issue using stored procedure. If we go to the definition here from the stored procedure, it's saying you can save the SQL queries. By using stored procedure, you can save queries and can reuse them over and over again. So let's see how we can save queries and reuse them again and again. So let's go to SQL Server again. So this requirement we have on daily basis. Now what we will do here, we will create a stored procedure. And what is the syntax? Create procedure, give some name like test, or you can give them some meaningful name like daily task. So this is our daily task, and then keyword as, begin, and in the last you can give end. So this is the way to create a stored procedure. Now what's next? To execute this stored procedure. And how to execute? Select this and click on execute. In the message below you can see command completed successfully, which means our stored procedure has been created. So what we have done, we had saved these queries. Now no matter like how many lines we have even 100 lines of code, we can save that. Now where can you check this? You can check it from the Object Explorer. From the left side you can see we have Object Explorer. So where is the stored procedure stored? So first you have to check in which database you have created this. So whatever the database is selected here in this drop down, you have to check for that. So right now it is master. So go for the master database. From the left side, first you have to refresh it so that the latest changes will reflect here. And then you have to go programmability, expand this, and here it is stored procedure. Expand this also. This is our stored procedure, which is daily task. And if you want to check the data in this, like what has been created, what you can do, you can script create, or if you want to alter, if you want to check the data, if you want to like check like what query is there, you can go here like create to new query editor window. If you want to alter, you can do the same. For now, let's check. You can see that. So these are the two lines that we had created. So by this way you can check, and if you want to alter, like if you want to do some modification, what you can do, script alter to new query editor window. So what change is there is alter keyword. Now what you can do here, if you want to make it id 2 and then execute this stored procedure, command completed successfully, which means now when you will execute the stored procedure, id 2 will get deleted. Okay, so this is the way like we can select the data and we can alter as well. So now what's next? We had saved these lines of code, but now we had not executed them. And how to execute? Let me show you. What you can do now is our stored procedure is created. And what is the name of stored procedure? If you check the data first, let's check the data. So we have 1 and 2. Okay, now what data is there in the stored procedure? Let's change this. What we will do here, let's create some insert query. Delete this and delete this also. And this is some insert query. What we will do, we will create a stored procedure. Let's alter this and remove this from here, and then we are using insert query. So insert into employee details, we had how 1 2 3 4 5 parameters we had, then we are passing for 5 values. So this will insert the data. If you check the data here from the table, select star from employee details, execute this using click on execute. You can see we have 3. Okay, so we had inserted. Actually, when we execute this, this insert query also get inserted. Okay, no issues. What we'll do, we'll insert id, which is 4. So right now we had 3 rows. Now what we will do here, we will make it id equal to 4, and then Rakesh, we can make it Suresh. So this is our stored procedure, and let's execute this. And if you check the data, it will still be 3 rows. But once we execute the procedure, it will be 4. So what's the name of the stored procedure? It is daily task. So what we have to do, how to execute stored procedure? sp help text and stored procedure name. Okay, sorry, it's not that. It is like if you want to check the stored procedure, the content of the stored procedure, you can do this sp help text. But to execute it, you have to write execute stored procedure name. Execute and the stored procedure name. So let's execute this. One row affected because we had in our stored procedure, we are just inserting data in the table, doing nothing else. Now, if you check the data again from this table, you can see id, which is 4, and name Suresh, it has been inserted. So by this way, whatever the code you will write here, it can be 100 lines, it can be 200 lines, more than that, it never bother. Okay, the stored procedure, you can create anything. And this is the way you can save queries using stored procedure, and then if you want to execute that, you can execute that by execute and the stored procedure name. And if you want to check the content of the stored procedure, what you have written there, it is sp help text stored procedure name. So that is stored procedure. Now we have learned like how we can save queries in stored procedure, how we can execute stored procedure. But now what we will learn here now, like if you have some parameters, how to pass parameters and how to use parameters using stored procedure. What I mean is, right now we have this data from the table. Now what I want to do is, I want to fetch the data where id is 1 or 2. I want to make it dynamic. What I mean is, like if I am passing id equal to 3, it should give us this row. And if I am passing id equal to 4, it should give us this row where id is 4. So we have to create stored procedure in such a way that whatever the id we will pass, it's not like id, whatever the name, whatever the grade, or whatever the id will pass, it should give us that data. So that we can do with parameters. So let's do that. So first, this is stored procedure. Now what we will do here, we will create some parameters. So here, and how to declare parameters. So right now what we are doing, it is the same stored procedure where we had inserted data. Now if you want to create new, let's create new. Instead of changing this, let's create new stored procedure. Create procedure, and procedure name, you can give it 1 2 3, then as begin end. Now what we will do here, what we need is, we will pass some value, it should give us that data. So first let's declare some variable, @ id, and then int. So int is the data type for this variable. Now next is, we'll write here select star from employee details, which is a table name, where id is equal to id, the variable that we created. Now what will happen here, so first we have declared this id, which is a parameter, and inside that what we are doing, we are selecting data from employee details where id, what's id, if you check the data again here, select star from table name. So this is table name, check the data here using select statement, So what is the column name here? It is ID. So we are checking like select star from employee details where ID is what? So that we will pass using parameter, and parameter we have declared here. If you will change here, you have to use the same parameter here what you have declared in the stored procedure. Okay, so this is a way to use the parameter. Now execute this. Command completed successfully. Now how to execute the stored procedure? By using execute keyword and then test123, which is a stored procedure, and after that earlier we were not having any parameters, so we didn't provide any value, but right now we had used parameter here. Now if you will execute this, it will throw error because it's expecting some value, it's expecting some parameter value because this procedure is with the parameter. So you have to pass the data. So let's pass 3. Okay, so let's pass 3. It is 3. Now execute this again. You can see now it has given us data where ID is 3. So it is now dynamic. If you will pass 4, it will give us that data where ID is 4. Sorry again, it is taking. Okay, so this is 4. In a similar way, if you don't want to pass ID, you can pass the name, grade. In that case, what you have to do, if you want to pass name, you can declare here name, and then name, the data type will be varchar because it is character value, and then here you can do alter procedure, alter, and here you will pass name is equal to @name. So these changes you have to do if you want to pass name rather than ID. So let's execute this again. Command completed successfully. Here we are doing the alter, we are modifying the same procedure, so had used alter keyword. Otherwise you have to create new procedure if you want to pass name. So then how to execute this? So let's pass some name. So what name we have? Raju. Let's pass Raju. We cannot pass like this because Raju is a character value and SQL Server doesn't know what it is. So we have to pass in single quotes. Now pass it. See, we get the data where name is Raju. So this was single parameter. It's not like you can pass only single parameter. If you want to pass multiple parameters, you can do that as well. @ID int. So right now what we are doing, we are passing stored procedure with multiple parameters. So let's execute. So here also where name is, first check the data where name is this and @ID is, and ID is equal to @ID. So now this stored procedure will expect 2 parameter values because here we have declared multiple parameters. Now what's next? To execute this first. Execute this procedure. Command completed successfully, which means we had saved our data. So this we have saved. By executing stored procedure means we are saving our queries. We are not executing them. Now to execute this, what we have to do? Execute keyword and then here first it is name and then you can pass. If we will pass 1, will it work? Do we get any data? No, because let's check first the data. See, so we are passing Raju but and ID. So but the ID for the Raju ID is 2, not 1. So that's why we didn't get any data. So we have to pass 2. Now when we will execute this again, you will find, so condition is matching, we get Raju and ID is 2. So this is how we can create stored procedure and with single parameter and multiple parameter. Now what you have learned here, stored procedure can save your queries and we can reuse them over and over again. Now if you have some team member, you can provide the stored procedure name and ask him to execute this on daily basis. Now anyone from the team can execute this. He don't need to modify, don't need to copy the data from any file or anywhere. It is saved in the database. He can check, he has having the access, so he can get the data from this database, from the stored procedure. He can also do the modification. You don't need to find the path or from some notepad file or some other file, and this is secure also. And you can reuse it. Use it means if you want to do the modification, you can do the modification with the existing stored procedure. You don't need to write these lines of code again and again. And if you want to create a scheduler for this, also you can do that. Like if you want to execute this query on daily basis, and you can schedule this stored procedure in a scheduler if you don't want to execute this in that case. So that is different, that I will show in the coming videos, but right now it was just like what is stored procedure and how we can save the stored procedure, what is single and multiple parameter, like how we can use single and multiple parameter stored procedure. So that was it for today's session. I hope you have understood stored procedure. We'll come up with the next session shortly. Till then, have a nice day. Bye bye. Take care. Be healthy, be safe, and love your family.